Yo, welcome back to another episode of From the Sideline podcast. I'm back with my co-host Pete, man. And we got some good topics for you guys today. But first off, we want to thank you guys for watching over on YouTube. If you are watching, man, hit that like button so we can get the video out to other people. Other people see the video, and they can give us our feedback. We're going to be dropping a Twitter soon, Instagram soon, and we're going to be doing some polls over there, asking some questions, trying to get you guys feedback on topics on the show, what we should talk about, stuff like that. So if you guys want to, be a part of the show, help us out, you can do it down here on the YouTube video, or you can do it over there on those websites, and we'll let you know exactly when we got them up. But right now, we're going to kick the show to Pete for Pete's message. What you got for us today, Pete?
What's up, brother? What's going on, man?
Not much, chilling.
Yeah. So for the opening message today, a couple episodes ago, I brought up the New York Mets and how the fans were going super crazy and upset, all because we didn't re-sign Noah Syndergaard. He wanted $21 million. We offered him 18. He goes to the Angels for 1 year. And I just felt like it was a big risk, understanding the fact that the man hadn't pitched in 2.5 years. Why would we want to risk that kind of money on him? And I told Met fans to just calm down. Well, now here it is, not too much longer after that. And everybody's in a good mood all of a sudden now, because the Mets have made some big splashes over the last couple of days, okay? Forget Noah Syndergaard. He's an afterthought when you bring over somebody like Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer is now a New York Met. I can't even believe I'm saying that right now. It don't even sound like it's true. I feel like I need to be pinched for a second to make sure I'm not dreaming. But yes, Max Scherzer is a New York Met now. We got him for 3 years, $130 million at $43.5 million a year. He is now the highest paid pitcher in all of baseball, and it's well deserving. Last season, the guy had 236 strikeouts. He pitched 179 innings. He had 18 quality starts, 15 wins, and a 2.46 ERA. He's won multiple Cy Young awards already, okay? And then to accompany him, we got some extra talent coming in too, because we made a splash with the best center fielder on the market in Starlin Marte. Starlin Marte, and 467 at-bats last year, had 89 runs scored, 12 home runs, 55 RBIs, and a big-time 47 stolen bases with a .379 on-base percentage. We also came and brought in Eduardo Escobar, 549 at-bats, 77 runs scored, 28 home runs, 90 RBIs, and a .314 on-base percentage. And to go along with that, we brought in another guy, big time from the Athletics, 519 at-bats, Mark Hanna. 93 runs scored, 17 home runs, 61 RBIs, 12 stolen bases, and a .358 on-base percentage. That is the type of talent that we needed to bring to this roster to put us over the hump. We, as Met fans, should be rejoicing, not just over the fact that we got Max Scherzer, but don't sleep on these other guys. This is just what we wanted to see. Steve Cohen is spending the money in the right way. Billy Epler is making a splash, and he's only been on the job for a couple of weeks. Mets fans, we are headed in the right direction. For the longest time, we've been waiting on the Wilpons to spend money. Well, the Wilpons are no longer our owners. It's Steve Cohen. He is the richest owner in all of baseball, and he's spending the money to give us the team that we deserve. This could easily be our season. Our season. It sounds so good to say it. I'm so excited about it. And like I said a couple episodes ago, Mets fans, calm down. I had faith in what it was we were trying to do and what we were going to pull off. And what I'm hearing, we're not done yet. We still going to make some more signings. So with the Pete Alonso on the team, with Max Scherzer now able to be a nice 1-2 punch, with everybody's favorite Jacob deGrom, we arguably have two of the best starting pitchers in all of baseball. And Mets fans, today and these past couple of days has been a very, very good week for us Mets fans. Let's go Mets.
Word, and that's the damn message from Pete. And yeah, well, thank you guys. Thank you for always sharing this message with you guys. If you guys like it, man, give some Pete some love down in the comments, man. But yes, we do got our regulars in the building, GK and Uncle Frank. So we'll see you guys when we get them in here, man. What's up, guys, man? We're back in sorry, I know I said GK was in the house today, but GK is not in the house today. He had to go to work. So we want to wish him to have a good day, and we'll see him on another episode, all right? But we got Uncle Frank back in the building, man. And we got the trusted co-host Pete in the building with that Mets on, So we're gonna jump right into it. So if you guys don't remember last episode, it was only me and Pete. So me and Pete decided to give you guys our top 10 list. And we're going to start the show off with Frank's top 10. But before we kick it to Frank's top 10, we want to repeat our top 10. So I'm going to go first. And then right after me, Pete's going to go. And then we'll discuss the top 10s for a little bit and then we'll move on. All right. So my top 10 in order, right? Because I try to just be, in order. I got MJ. I got Kareem. I got LeBron. I got Kobe. I got Magic. I got Bird. I got Shaq. I got Bill. I got Tim. And then I got Wilt.
All right. And my top 10 was broken down pretty much into 3 categories. I had my players that are retired. I got a couple players that are still playing. And then I threw in a guy that I call my favorite player. So mine was Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, and Pistol Pete Maravich. And then the players that are still playing, I threw in LeBron James and Stephen Curry. And I threw in my favorite player, which is Drazen Petrovic, in my list. So that was my top 10. Me and Troy, we agreed on 7 names and we had 3 differences. So what's up, Uncle Frank? What you got for us, brother?
All right. So are you ready? Strap in.
Tighten up.
It's gonna be some controversy because it's gonna be some name. It might be a name or two that's left off my top 10. It might get an eye roll or two.
I gotta get my pen. Right. I gotta get my pen.
I'm gonna start with number 1 at the top. LBJ, the young kid from Akron. He is the GOAT. I got him at my number 1. Respectfully, I got Michael Jordan number 2. I have Kareem at number 3. Magic number 4. I got Kobe number 5, Tim Duncan number 6, Shaq 7, Larry Bird at number 9, Bill Russell at number 10.
Respectfully.
I think you missed one. You missed one.
Oh, okay. I got.
You said Shaq at 7. You said Shaq at 7, Larry at 9, Bill at 10.
Did I?
Yes.
Yeah, you did. You did. You jumped
Shaq
the number.
7.
I'm writing it.
All right. Shaq 7. KD, Kevin Durant is number 8.
You left that one off. That's the one you left off.
All right. So I left KD off.
So Larry is number 9, and then 10 was Bill.
Yes, sir.
So the only thing you're missing with Troy is Troy's got Wilt Chamberlain, and you got KD. That's the only difference between y'all's list.
I left the greatest shooter of all time off my list.
Steph Curry.
That's only that part.
So I got Steph Curry, you got Kevin Durant, but me and Troy both got Wilt Chamberlain.
Yeah, but see, my thing is the way I constructed my list is like only reason why, because I told Pete last episode that I don't like including players that careers aren't finished. But with LeBron, you've seen enough in his career to know that he's a top 10 player all time in the NBA. So I put him there. But my list is constructed of everybody that has finished their career. So that's my list. My favorite player just so happens to be Bird. And I like to see that you got Magic in yours and Bird somewhere in there, because people don't include Bird in there when they got Magic in there, when, like we talked about on another episode, Bird and Magic hand in hand carry the league. You understand?
Yes,
to get his ratings back up, to stop it from going bankrupt. So I think both of them deserve the credit at the same time.
Bird drops on my list because of longevity.
You'd be disrespecting one if you put one in and not the other.
Yeah, that's I agree too. So you got anything to say about Frank's top 10, Pete?
No, you know what, man? I mean, listen, you could almost say KD, LeBron, and Steph, even though they're active players right now. It's like you said, you don't really like putting guys in that are still playing right now. But at the same time,
I don't have too many active players.
How can you leave those 3 off the list when you know eventually, when it's all said and done, they're probably going to be on the list?
But who comes off my list is the question. That's like, I'm looking at my list.
Wait, say it again.
I said, who comes off my list? That's the question I'm asking myself.
To what? Fit a guy like KD?
Yeah, like KD and Stephen.
Yeah. I mean, listen.
That's what I looked at my list too. That's what took my list too. Is where do I put Steph at? Because Steph definitely deserves to be over there. But when you look at a guy like Bill Russell, who has 11 championships, you can't ignore that. He just due to respect, he has to be somewhere on my list. And I felt I couldn't put him and Wilt at the same time. I can't put two players from that era. Just because of the competition wise.
I can see Wilt dropping off my list. But Wilt is there because Wilt was the first, bro.
Listen, I got two small points to make, right? With my list, it's a lot easier for me to drop somebody off to add one of your guys who are definitely deserving of being on the list, because I put a guy on my list like Drazen Petrovic, which is only on my list because he's my favorite player. I know that when Troy gives Shaquille O'Neal, Bill Russell, and Tim Duncan, and Frank gives a guy like KD, I know all four of those guys should be on my list over Drazen Petrovic. But because I put Drazen just being my favorite player, I have room to take a guy off to put one of the four guys on that you guys have that I don't have. But what I am in disagreement with, and I'm finding like how people find it hard to believe that I have Drazen Petrovic on my list. I feel like, how could we leave Wilt Chamberlain off the list at all? Wilt is like, dang, man.
I agree. Wilt should be there, bro. And that's why I said I could see Wilt dropping when KD and Curry's careers, but I'm going to have to go into a study. I'm going to have to get a notepad. I'm going to have to write some stuff down. I'm going to have to come to some conclusions and see if, what Wilt has done with being that first guy to carry the league until, things changed for the NBA and they was able to get to that ABA, shit, and Dr. J and all of them was to come along and carry that on. But like Wilt deserves to be there. Like Wilt, when you start some, Wilt was like the founder of it, like to me. So to take Wilt off the list for me, it would be hard, even to put somebody like a Steph Curry and KD on the list.
Here's my question for both of y'all, and you both could give me an answer on this, because I this is what I feel like you guys are thinking. Why is it that you guys feel that Shaq and Bill Russell are better players than Wilt Chamberlain?
Would you like to go first, or would you?
You can go. Go ahead, Frank.
Well, I just put it, if I'm starting my franchise, it doesn't matter which era it is. If I have Shaq and I have Wilt Chamberlain to start my franchise, I would like to say 7 out of 10 sports analysts or just sports fanatics or anybody who just knows the game. I would like to believe the majority would go with Shaquille O'Neal. Shaq was way more dominant with his size, and early on Shaq was that Orlando Magic Shaq was terrifying. He was breaking backboards. He was a Shaq that can run in transition. He was blocking shots. He's a monster. He was a force to be reckoned with. And my deal with Wilt is, yes, Wilt has the numbers to be number 2, top 3 on anybody's list, if you're going just based off numbers alone. My deal is when it came to winning championships, when it came to the biggest games, those biggest games often came against a guy named Bill Russell. And Bill Russell was the victor and majority of those wins, hence the 11 rings. So and with the league being so short and amount of players and limited with the talent, I can't see myself putting. I have to put somebody from that era. It can only be one guy from that era on my top 10, and it will have to be the guy with the most championships.
Yeah, now, are you? Yeah, go ahead. No, you answer. Go ahead. Absolutely. Go ahead, bro.
No, so I agree with him, and that's why I kind of said I could see Wilt going off because Bill Russell was the more dominant one. That's why I have Bill at 8, Wilt at 10. Shaq was more dominant. You just look at Shaq overall games from when he came into the league to even when he left the league, he wasn't as dominant, but he still was a dominant force, just not to that level of, his first, 10 years or so, so be it. Right. But with just like what Frank was saying with Wilt and Bill did win those matchups, even though, Wilt was dominant. He was the first, one to do a 100-point game, which I had a guy on TikTok tell me Wilt's 100-point game was fake. It never happened. There was no 3-pointers back then. There's no way he could score 100 points.
Well, let me say,
go to the box score and add up the shots. Just do that.
I was gonna say, Troy is absolutely right. He says all the time about how, like, based on who you played against in your era is not your fault. No. You can't hold that against a person. But I will say this though, and it's something that you two didn't mention right now. I still feel like and don't get me wrong, you both gave great arguments for why you like Shaq and Bill Russell a little bit more. But I feel like you would give, and even maybe other people would give Wilt Chamberlain more respect if he played in the same era as Shaquille O'Neal. Because I get it, Shaquille O'Neal probably played against bigger guys. And listen, we're not going to sit and argue. Shaq's dominating body features made him so freaking dominating because he was so big, so strong, so muscular, so tall. Like, couldn't nobody deal with that? That 7'1", 300 pounds, nobody could deal with in the 90s. They just couldn't. The only person that really took it to him was like Hakeem Olajuwon. That was really the only one that really took it to Shaq when Shaq was in his prime. But I just feel like if Wilt played in that same era, Wilt would have been putting up a lot of the same numbers. I ain't saying he would have had a 100-point game, but I think Wilt would have still been putting up some crazy numbers. And and I think Wilt's like 6'9". He probably wouldn't even have been really like responsible for even having to guard Shaquille O'Neal, to be honest with you.
All right, that goes into my point that I was about to make. All right, so this goes into Shaq's dominance, Shaq's level of dominance during his prime years. Shaq created the stretch fours. Shaq created the power forward position as far as the guys who the KGs and the Tim Duncan, the 7-footers who didn't want to play center because they didn't want to have to match up with Shaquille O'Neal, so they moved down to the power forward position. That's good. That's credit to Shaq's level of dominance during his prime. That you gotta take that into accountability. The numbers that Shaq put up in the playoffs, those first four Lakers years, especially the first two championships run where we went 15-1 in the playoffs, and Shaq averaged 28-13 in the playoffs in a playoff run. That's dominance. That's. I mean, Wilt doesn't have. Of course, Wilt is athletic enough. I think Wilt is athletic enough to be able to be a serviceable player, a serviceable starter. But with the athleticism matched up around the league, that's why he was so dominant, because there were so far and few players that can match his level of athleticism, that can match his level, his skill level. Now you got those players sitting on the bench. You got Wilt type players sitting on the bench. So it'd be a whole lot harder for Wilt to be what Wilt was in this day and age that basketball.
We had a lot of centers back then, and I know Shaq was definitely the biggest and the strongest. But when Shaq was going on those title runs, I'm thinking about some of the centers he went through. I remember when the Lakers beat the Philadelphia 76ers, their starting center was Dikembe Mutombo. I'm not putting him on the same level with Shaq. I'm looking at when the Lakers got through the Sacramento Kings in the Western Conference Finals like 2 years in a row. He's going against Vlade Divac.
That's a Hall of Famer.
Right.
You gonna snub your nose at a Hall of Famer?
Get him,
Dikembe Mutombo is a Hall of Famer.
Hold on a minute though. But are they as dominating and as good as Shaquille O'Neal was? No.
Offensively, no. Defensively, they can absolutely match Shaq. Dikembe Mutombo at least.
Yeah,
Dikembe Mutombo at least.
Mutombo was a little problem for Shaq. Shaq had to learn how to get over that. He had to learn how to cook the chicken first. There wasn't barbecue chicken off the rip. He had to learn how to cook the chicken first.
Dikembe was a defensive stopper with the Nuggets. Remember when there was the 8th seed and they had the upset?
That's all Dikembe's known for, is being a defensive stopper. That's what he made his money on in the NBA.
Now, a player that is not a scorer cannot be great.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I'm just saying. Defensively, he can match up. He can stand with Shaq. Offensively, I agree with you. I don't think anybody could compare to Shaq just because of what he did with his weight and his size and his athleticism. Shaq had quick feet before he let himself go.
The Lakers went through the Utah Jazz a couple of times. I think their starting center was Greg Ostertag.
Great name.
Marina Sabonis over there and in Portland. 7-3 Sabonis. Come on, yeah, Shaq went through some guys.
I'm trying to
Rick
think.
Smith's in the finals against
It's like the same thing they say for the competition that Jordan had, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing I say. You cannot blame Shaq or Jordan or Larry or Will or anybody for the people that's in front of them. That is not their job to be like, look, I need more talent to go against. No. And that's why I think Bill would be higher on everybody's list than Wilt, because Bill came out with the championships. If Wilt had more championships, I think then Pete, you make a valid point that Wilt will have more respect and get more of a leniency to be higher on people's list, but Wilt don't have the championships to match it with his numbers.
Okay, so hold on a second though, but real quick, right? LeBron James don't got the championships like that either, though.
And he's got losing. He does have a losing record. I agree with you, and that's always my point when it comes to LeBron. Like, and that's why I'm not me either. But I'm not. That's why I always argue with LeBron against LeBron. Is like, yeah, LeBron is great in the aspect of what he does for the NBA, what he can do in the game, how he can control the game and win the game by himself. But when you're looking at the totality of LeBron's career, he's 4 and 6 in the finals. People always give him credit because he went to 10 straight finals, but people never take away.
Never done.
Yeah, never done. That's great. That's a great accolade. You can give him his roses there and still be like, but he only has 4 chips out of it.
Well, how about this? How about
MJ
this,
went, and then this is people's on MJ's side argument. MJ went to the finals 6 times and won all 6 of the times he was there. Bill went to the championship 12 times and won 11 times that he was there.
But LeBron has faced the superior competition throughout his career. That's what levels LeBron.
I don't know.
I mean,
I think there's people that can argue
that's why I say competition has to be included. Competition has to come into context when you're talking about that. You can't hold it against somebody, but competition has to absolutely matter, especially when you talk. Well, I would say it matters more.
No, if I'm out on the court and I'm playing some dudes and they think they're good and I drop 30 on their head in the pickup game, bro, I'm not gonna be like, oh, they was some scrub. I'm fucking all up in their face.
Listen. Like, I'm probably in the minority when I say this, but I just feel this way or whatever. I actually don't value championships as much as most people do. And what I mean by that is, it's like when you're talking about a team sport where the other 4 guys matter, or in football, even crazier because you got 10 other guys on the field with you, okay? I think Michael Jordan is the greatest player of all time. And I'm still calling Michael Jordan that if I take 3 championships away from him. That's just me. I don't think that Michael Jordan having 6, it makes his resume look amazing. But I'm not taking it away from him if he has 3. I'm still calling Michael Jordan the greatest player of all time.
Yeah, but it's not even about Michael's resume. It's just his will to win. And that's why Kobe is so much compared to Michael, because Kobe has that same will to win. That's why Kobe has 5. You understand? Right. Tim Duncan, people don't put Tim Duncan in that category because he plays a whole different position, but Tim also has 5. But Tim gets his credit because Tim was one of the best power forwards to ever play the game. He was a big fundamental for a reason. And I even sit here and think back, sorry, Pete, I even sit here and think back when I was a kid that I wish somebody was there to show me the fundamentals of the game, because then maybe I can be a fucking point guard. That's a Tim Duncan, just so fundamental. Like, because he did it so well. You understand? This is why you'll have these type of players over Wilt. You understand? I get it what Frank is saying about competition. Yeah, you want to look at competition, but competition can't be the most important thing on the list, because it doesn't matter. If you look at LeBron's competition, if you just look at LeBron as a whole and somebody else as a whole, who compares to him? If you really think about it, LeBron can force his way to the rim at will. He has a little bit of a pull-up. He can back you down. He can throw himself alley-oops and dunk over you. Like, LeBron can climb a ladder that nobody else, that probably Zach LaVine can climb. But it's like, he has all these things. And for LeBron to have these things and go to the finals with the teams that he has had, I think it's right for people to hold it against him. Yeah, even though I do give credit where credit is due, he went up against a dynasty in San Antonio. That was a dynasty. There's a dynasty in Golden State. That was a dynasty in Golden State. You can say that, but that was just a good team and good competition. I think those teams were more close.
What?
I think those teams were more close than you give them credit for. Not the year where Curry and was injured, but when
I'm talking about your opinion strictly on the Warriors team. You think that Warriors team was just another good team?
Yeah, I don't know if it's so. Dynasty for me is same level competition, 3 to 5 years, more in the end of 5 years. And that's why I said you can call the Warriors a dynasty. You can, because they fit in that 3 to 5 year range. I'm not mad if you do. I kind of think they were on the verge of being a dynasty, but some people might take that dynasty away from them because of the Kevin Durant signing.
Here's something too, right? With everybody that we're talking about right now, and maybe it was something we could have thought about doing, which we didn't do or whatever it is we're all born in like the 80s, right? Everybody in here
Yeah.
born in the 80s, right? Like, we're giving
I'm
that
born in
perspective.
90s. I'm not no 80s, man.
I'm sorry. Okay,
Goddamn, I'm on this shit. I'm on
we're
So
giving,
right in the 80s.
we're giving that point of view right now, right? And if we had a guy on here right now that was in his 50s, 60s, or early 70s right now, they would have some pretty good arguments for guys like Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, and a lot of the guys that we don't have on the list, or that we have on the list that we don't have as high as a LeBron, a Michael Jordan, and things like that. So we do have to keep in mind that it's not that we're giving a biased opinion, but we're giving an opinion as far almost as our brains can go back to. You know what I'm saying, Kai?
Because you can only go off of what you know. So
right, exactly. So
from Bill and Will, it's like you can only go back and watch highlights. You get some games you can go watch, but you know, most of us, like you're saying, we don't know that much of in-game experience of seeing what these guys did. But just hearing stories of me growing up, I was 91, so 80s ain't that far away from 91. So you get to hear those stories growing up as a kid about Will, Bill, the ABA, the Merge, Dr. J, and all these cats. And you get to go back and watch some games and some film in the 90s of these guys when it was a little bit more prevalent on TV, when it was showing the games and stuff. And you get to see what these guys can do. So that's what I base my opinion on. But I totally 100% agree with you, Pete. And we had a guy that was from that time up here. He'd be spitting so much fire and facts that we'd be like, yo, I didn't even fucking know that.
I'm telling you right now, okay? And my father, and because as y'all know, I respect LeBron. He's on my list, but I don't really like LeBron as much.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I'm there with you.
But I'm not the biggest fan of his. I respect him. He's a top 10 overall. He deserves to be on the list. My father is the biggest LeBron James fan. But if he was up here with us right now and we asked him his top 10 list and he gave it in order, he'd have Wilt up there, Bill Russell up there, Oscar Robertson, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar before he even put LeBron on that list. And those are all guys from the 70s and the 60s. You know what I mean? And he'd have a damn good argument for why they should be on the list in front of LeBron, Curry, Durant, Magic, Larry, and Jordan. You know what I'm saying? So it's just more of the fact that we're giving that 80s, 90s point of view, and we're not really hearing a 70s or a 60s point of view to go along with it. But even if we had that person up here doing it, I think we'd all have good arguments and it's a good debate, you know?
Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll make it work.
Yeah, definitely.
But anything else? Anybody want to touch on anything else?
All right, so just real quick, I just want to say how I base my list. I actually went out and talked to like the guys that grew up in the 60s and the 70s during the jock. A lot of them would like a lot of names that we left off. One included would be Dr. J, game changer. A lot of people will have him in the top 10, and I don't think anybody would snub their nose at a Dr. J.
I think the thing with
that
Dr.
type of player being in the top 10.
Yeah,
I know the ABA holds.
Yeah,
the ABA. He played in the ABA, but
that's
I understand. But that's where most of the talent was.
Yeah, it was, and
that's
why the NBA. That's why the NBA was like,
once
"Yo,
they
we gotta
merged
get them because if we don't get them, they're gonna get us." So that's what it was.
Once they merged it, you saw majority of the talent was the players that came from the ABA. So I can't really snub my nose at that too much.
Yeah,
but I did do my due diligence. I'm a sport rat. I love basketball. I love football. I love talking about it all day, every day. So I talk to my elders. I talk to my brothers. I talk to my cousins. I talk to my friends. We all talk about this. And when it comes down to my list, it just comes down to the production, the impact, and the competition absolutely played a big part in my decision.
It's real simple.
Which is why I left majority of those 60s players and the 70s players on the back end of my list. I definitely put that in account.
No, I was just gonna say, it don't matter how many people we have up here giving their top 10 lists. If 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 of your players come off the NBA's top 75 greatest players of all time, you got a good argument for why your list is what your list is. It's that simple. Because you wouldn't be on the top 75 if your game didn't mean for you to be on the top 75. You're on the top 75 because players and coaches and everybody from the NBA over all the years have voted you on this list. So it don't matter how many people give their top 10 list. It could be a different 10 than all three of us. If your 10 is coming off that top 75 list, you got a good argument for why you got.
But shouldn't you at least your 5 or your first 5 or first 4 be Mount Rushmore worthy?
But that's what I was going to say. I was going to say,
I agree.
There's a top 75 list, right?
Yeah.
And then listed in order for a reason. Like, I'm not going to take, somebody at the bottom of the list over Michael, Kareem.
Yeah, you feel me? I get that.
That's the only thing, and I think that's the only thing people will argue is like, yeah, you can beat. You are right. You'll have an argument for them, and your only argument really would be that they on the top 75 list. But then anybody else can come back. It's like, where do they place on that top?
When you talk about the first 10, they got to be the cream of the crop.
Well, I mean, you got the accolades, you got what they did for the NBA. But I'm just saying, when you talk about the 75 list. Yeah, when you talking about the 75 list, that's going to be basically your argument because you're like, oh, I'm putting him on here, and I can put him on here because all these accolades, but he made the 75,
right.
List. So that's easy. That's an easily dismantleable argument. I can tear that shit apart. So don't give no viewers ideas of coming up here with that BS to this. But yeah, I agree with you. You definitely want some GOATs in your top 5. Your GOATs got to be top 5. You can't have, and that's why I say, Pete, I can respect your top 10 list because you didn't, Pete, put your favorite player as number 1 on the list. And I think we said this last episode.
My favorite player don't even have to be on the list.
Yeah, right. But that's why I said, and my favorite player is number 6. You feel me? So we understand that we're not going to just take it overboard and just put our favorite players or who we like at the top of the list. But yeah, let's move on, bro. We got some NBA tiers to get into, and I want to jump right into it, because this is going to be the last NBA tiers until the last episode of this month. So we're going to start doing all the NBA tiers at the end of the month. So we got a bigger resume to go on and a bigger way to move teams and see if anybody moves and stuff like that. All right, sorry, we had some technical difficulties again. I'm still getting it together, all right? But here's the bottom tier. Let me know if you guys can see it.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So for the listeners, we got Houston, Orlando, Detroit, New Orleans, and San Antonio, and we're calling them this week the first round picks. So what do you guys think about that bracket? Anybody you think not supposed to be there?
Nah, I think hopefully the Spurs. I think that they'll eventually catch a little head of steam later on during the season. I don't think that they'll remain in the first round pick.
In the first bracket. In the bottom bracket. I want to explain to viewers too, if you're looking at it and for listeners. So I go left to right. So the first team is the worst team. The last team is the best team in that bracket.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah. That's cool.
Pete, you good?
Yeah. I was just gonna say New Orleans. I mean, they're not fully healthy.
Yeah, that's true. You said that before.
When New Orleans is fully healthy, I could see them moving up. I think Ingram is got a lot of talent. You know what I mean? I think Zion's got talent. So I feel like when they're fully healthy, they can move up from that spot. Everybody else is probably staying where they at.
All right. Next bracket, we got OKC, San Antonio, Toronto, and Indy, and we're calling this team looking up because they winning some games. I think OKC is the best out of that bottom tier, so that's why they're in the second tier. Kings are winning some games. Toronto, they're up and down, but they could turn it on, and Indiana turned it on a little bit and had a couple of games. Any thoughts on that bracket? Anybody you think should be up or down?
I was gonna say the Kings, man. They fired their head coach and then they look good. They beat the Lakers in 3 overtimes. Real quick, just to touch on that game, man, was very, very confusing to me. I'm just gonna go right back to real quick to the last play before overtime started. They had 6 seconds on the clock in a tie game, and I do not understand the play that was drawn up. They give the ball to LeBron at the top with 6 seconds. That's plenty of time for LeBron to drive to the basket and attack and either get fouled or make a layup and win the game. He dribbles the ball for 5 seconds and shoots a 3. Now, listen, if that's what Frank Vogel talks over with them as far as the play to make, fine, no problem. But if all you're going to do is dribble out the clock and shoot a 3 to win the game in a tie game, I would have rather gave the ball to Carmelo or a better 3-point shooter. I would have rather given the ball to Anthony Davis if that was the game plan. If the game plan is just dribble for 5 seconds and shoot a 3 and hope it goes in, I wouldn't have put the ball in LeBron James' hand for that. LeBron should have attacked the basket, and maybe they wouldn't have lost the game in 3 overtimes.
I think to LeBron's credit, I think he, for the most part, he had it going. He was the one that was driving us that game. He had all of the momentum was behind him, and especially those last 3 minutes of the fourth quarter, and then going into the first overtime and the second overtime. I just think he just got tired eventually. So after the third overtime, the second and third overtime, he was just drained.
But in regulation, in a tie game, and you're built like a freight train, and you have 6 seconds. You don't got 1 second or 2 seconds. You have 6 seconds to make a decision in a tie game. You don't even need to attack the basket.
He had the hot hand though. He just made 3 shots. You know what I mean?
You can have the hot hand
and attack the basket. Trying to hot hand.
I agree with Pete. You got
just
LeBron
have a hot hand does not mean you have to settle for a jump shot. Just because you have a hot hand, you do not have to settle for a jump shot in a tie game.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we got the next bracket. It's the third bracket. It's called the Snap Out of It. Cleveland is falling down to earth, and I mean it's falling down to flat earth. Boston is still struggling, so I had to drop them down a tier. They could fall. I'd like to know you guys if you guys would see anybody in here. Denver Nuggets Memphis Grizzlies just lost Ja Morant for a little bit, so I think they're gonna struggle. They did just get a win the other night without him. Denver Nuggets got Jokic back, but without Jokic, they played horrible. So they dropped a couple of tiers. 76ers, even with Joel Embiid coming back, they dropped the game. So I do see them guys moving up. The last two, the Nuggets and the 76ers, are the more likely teams to move up. Boston probably is going to stay in the rut for a little bit. But yeah, what do you guys thought on that bracket? Anybody you think should be not on this list, not on this tier?
Well, I told you guys that Cleveland was going to come back down to earth. I just knew it was just a matter of time. They don't really have the firepower on the bench to keep up with the rest of the league, especially with how tough the Eastern Conference is right now. Denver, man, I felt bad for Denver because they can't catch a break. Michael Porter Jr. He's gonna be out for the season with back surgery. That's gonna be a crusher for them. Memphis, I believe Memphis is the best team out of this bracket. They just got to be more consistent and put the wins together consistently.
So you think they can play well without Ja?
They have a lot of young talent, and the culture there is in place. They have a nice good talent around them. And the Western Conference, as tough as it is, anybody could win on any given night. And they have the depth on the bench to keep up with anybody. So that's what's going to keep them in the long run.
I don't think Memphis is better than Denver when it's all said and done. Yeah, and also when you talk about Cleveland, Jared Allen's coming into his own. He finally looks like he fits on that team after getting traded to them from last season. But one big thing that we don't talk about is Colin Sexton and his knee injury. Colin Sexton was almost like who made that Cleveland Cavaliers team go. And to lose him for the length of time that they're losing him for, I think is keeping Cleveland back a little bit.
Yeah, but I think they're still young, and I think the older teams in the league is going to outplay them. I think you've seen that in the Pistons and Lakers game, even though I don't like the Lakers game being so close. And segueing into that, we got the next tier, the one down, the one up, meaning one team is going down and one team is going up. So I got the New York Knicks, the Timberwolves, the Lakers, and the Hawks. Any objections to that bracket?
No, I think the Knicks are going up. I think that Thibodeau is a great mind and a great coach. And if he says it's time for Kemba Walker to sit, then it's time for Kemba Walker to sit.
Now, we're going to get into Kemba later, but just remember, left to right, I think the Knicks are going down. Timberwolves are going to go down. I think the Lakers and the Hawks have the best chance of going up.
That's fair. That's fair because the Lakers and Atlanta Hawks are good. You know what's on their roster, whether they're struggling right now or not. I don't care. The Lakers could be struggling the way they're struggling right now a month from now. That don't mean I'm not picking the Lakers as a playoff team. Yeah, that don't mean I'm not picking the Lakers to still be there when it's all said and done because you can't doubt Anthony Davis. You can't doubt Westbrook. And you know you can't doubt LeBron James. So,
yeah, eventually the Lakers will get it together. The Atlanta Hawks, they're always going to be my dark horse of the East. I'm always riding with the Hawks. Trae Young is outstanding. That coaching staff is over there. That they have the shooting power to match up with anybody with the best shooting team in the league. If they can be a little bit more better, a little bit more consistent on the defensive end, they can really be a team to reckon with in the Eastern Conference.
Okay, top bracket for the bottom tiers. We got fighting for a spot. We got Portland. We got the Hornets, we got the Mavs. Yes, they fell, and we got the Bucks who moved up a tier. What are you guys' thoughts on that bracket?
Frank.
Well, the Mavs have been playing good. They've been on the road these last couple games.
So
Luka
this is going off of when Luka didn't play two or three games, and they dropped two of those games to the Suns. So that was in that week, I think.
Yeah, but what I wanted to say was when him and KP were on the court prior to the injury, they were starting to mesh. Things were starting to come together with those two. And prior, I did say that you might need to get rid of KP just to get the best out of Luka, but I might be changing my mind just off the way that they played their last 2-3 games together. I think that they might be able to do some things in the Western Conference come playoff time. And Portland is still as good as Portland be. I mean, they up and down with it, but it's still free Dame until Dame is out of there.
That's it. I agree with Frank completely. Although I feel like Frank, even though I agree with you, I think we both gonna change our minds with what you said about Dallas as soon as KP comes down with his first injury. As soon as he comes down with that first injury, we're gonna immediately be saying, okay, now it's time to get rid of KP again, because the guy just can't stay healthy. So far, so good.
They look good. They look good together. They look good together.
But oh my gosh, stay healthy for one full season, please.
So recap, you guys think everybody's in the place, nobody needs to be up or down in the tier?
No, listen. There's teams, if you go through all those tiers right now, like Boston Celtics, Atlanta Hawks, Lakers, Milwaukee Bucks, they could easily at some point in time in another couple weeks be on a higher tier level, because they're good teams when it's all said and done, But right now, this is how they're playing, and that's why they're where they're at.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
I agree. Now let's get into these top tiers. Now you guys gonna see some changes, a little different. But the bottom two teams of the top tiers, I got LA and I got the Bulls. I got all on the team. And what I mean by that is they need every piece to move correctly for them to get there. All right. Any objections?
Well, we know the Clippers are a better team with Kawhi Leonard when he comes back. So when you say all pieces and they need everybody on the team, yeah, you definitely need everybody on the Clippers. Paul George can't do it all by himself, so totally agree there. In Chicago, yeah, they need all their pieces. They have all their pieces and they look good, so.
They dropped some crucial games during this week, though.
Lately, yeah. I won't say they came back to earth, but it slowed down a little bit. Yeah.
I just think that the chemistry is starting. They have to get that chemistry back up. You can tell at times that they're a new group playing together. Everybody's still trying to figure each other out. I just think they'll be fine as the season goes on. And then I'm interested to see what the Clippers look like once Kawhi is back to 100%, back to playing the way he plays. Paul George, he was holding everything down prior to Kawhi, so he's been back to looking like a number one option on any given night. So hopefully let's see what they look like when everybody's healthy.
And the Bulls, you know what? They played so good, and we've liked the way that this new team has meshed with Ball and DeRozan being with Levine and things like that. And I'll be honest with you, even if certain teams in the East get better where they pass them in the standings, Milwaukee Bucks, maybe the Philadelphia Sixers figure out the Ben Simmons thing and they get better. And even if they move past Chicago Bulls is a team to me where it's like, just get in the playoffs and you'll still be scary and dangerous. I don't care if you get in the playoffs as an 8th seed. I don't care if you get in the playoffs as a 6th seed. You do not have to be a 1, 2, 3, or 4 seed and have a home game in a best of 7 to actually be dangerous. I feel like Chicago's dangerous no matter where or who they play in the first couple rounds of the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. All right, moving on to the next tier, we got all hands on deck, which is similar to the last tier. We're all on the team, but a little different because Utah is, I would have thought they would have been a little bit better to start the season. They started good, then went through a little slump. Miami keeps dealing with injury. Hero and even last night, Hero and Butler didn't play. Washington Wizards, they're still up there, but I just don't think they're better than the teams I got ahead of them. Any objections on that bracket?
No, that Washington Wizards hype is starting to die down some.
That's why I got them. That's why I got them last. Yeah, that's why I got them last in the bracket.
Miami Heat, they always like pumping out their chest, I feel like, all the time, man. And eventually you got to start backing it up with some big wins, I feel like. I feel like Miami wants to be like the tough guys of the East a little bit sometimes, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Back it up with wins, man. I mean, I'm a big Bam fan. I think Bam Adebayo is really like the best player on that team. I don't think it's Jimmy Butler, in my opinion. But you know, they're a playoff team. You know.
You know, Pete, what you said about the Chicago Bulls, about how they don't need, you don't think they need a home court advantage to be a scary or dangerous team in the playoffs. I think that's opposite with the Miami Heat. I think that they're gonna need home court advantage throughout the playoffs because they rely on their toughness a lot more than they rely on their skill.
Yeah, that's fair.
And that's what bites them in the butt sometimes. So I think that team is they're gonna be tough in the playoffs, but I think they're gonna need that home court advantage if they really want to make some noise.
Yeah, that's fair.
So moving on to the next bracket, the last top bracket, the top 3 teams in the NBA. It's the first time I got 3 teams in the top bracket, and it's Brooklyn Nets, it's the Phoenix Suns, and it's Golden State Warriors, and it's Giants versus men, bro. These guys are kicking. I mean, Brooklyn's I would say Brooklyn's the worst team of the 3. Golden State's the best team of the 3. I know some people was arguing the Suns are the best team of the 3 because of their 16-0 run. But yeah, any objections? You guys think anybody in these 3 brackets should be moved around?
No,
not at all.
You know, when you had 2 teams up there, you know, you're putting an East team and you're putting a West team. But now, where we stand right now, it is not fair to put Phoenix and Brooklyn or Golden State and Brooklyn. You got to have Golden State and Phoenix up there too, because they the best, man. They're the best. It's not fair to say one's better than the other just because they got one more win or their winning streak is 1 game longer or whatever the case is, man. Golden State and Phoenix are your top 2, hands down in the West. If you want to say a 1A and a 1B, fine, call them 1A, 1B.
I would say this.
Brooklyn Nets is the team in the East.
I would say this. If any other team in the East, besides the Bucks or the Brooklyn Nets, make it to the finals, Phoenix and Golden State in the Western Conference Finals, it will be our finals. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
that's going to be a game because Phoenix can slow it. And we got 2 Golden State games coming up soon too. I think it's like a game Golden State, a game Golden State. So I believe Phoenix is going to drop 1 of 2, but I think they might could drop both those games to Golden State because Golden State is just so good at going down and then in that 3rd quarter kicking your ass.
Golden State is terrifying. Steph Curry, Jordan Poole,
too.
Yo, is the reminiscence of that 72 win team as far as the confidence that they're playing with right now.
They ain't going for 72 though. They ain't going for that.
73.
Yeah, they ain't going. Yeah, they're not going for that.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that they're playing with that level of confidence that they play with without Clay being in there. And I feel so bad for Clay, man. Just as a competitor, just as a sports guy that loves to compete. I feel bad for Clay. Watching him on the bench with the towel over his head and hearing that his teammates had to come and get him off the bench.
Oh, his trainer had passed away.
Oh, that was the trainer?
Yeah, his trainer, the guy who was helping him rehab, had passed away.
Oh man.
That's
tough. And I know that he wants to get back out there. That's taking a toll on him, but it's gonna be scary once they get Clay back. If they get Clay back to even 75-80% of the old Clay, they're gonna be terrifying come playoff time.
We say that they're not going for that record, and I don't think they're going for that record again, and I don't think they're gonna get that record again. But you know what? They right on pace for it with the 2 losses, right?
They are.
They right on pace for it. I mean, dang, 2 losses?
They are. Well, guys, that's the NBA tiers. Like I said, we won't have another one until the end of the month. So these are the tiers we'll be going off from this point till then. And yeah, that's a wrap for the NBA tiers. Now let's get into some NBA topics. All right. Let's start off with with Pete's favorite, the LeBron versus Stewart part 2. That wasn't really a part 2 because nothing.
Yeah. I mean, the most drama behind it is the drama leading up to it. The fact that we can talk and say, oh, this is the game coming on tonight. Can't wait to see what happens. Coming on at this time, tune in, watch, and then you watch, and it's just a basketball game. And I didn't expect it to be any more than that. When you get suspended for 2 games and you get suspended for 1 game, and the guy that got suspended for 2 games really feels it in his wallet, because, you know, he doesn't make as much money and he isn't a billionaire like LeBron James is, he gonna be on his best behavior the next game. He ain't trying to get suspended no more. He ain't trying to miss no more game checks. He made it perfectly clear. He thought it was done on purpose. All right, fine. Let's just go out there and play ball. So as far as round two just means it's round two because we're playing each other again. It doesn't necessarily mean it's round two because something's going to take place based on what happened in the first game. This is no longer 80s basketball where that could happen. This is 2020s. We're watered down. It's don't hold me back type of league. I push you, you push me. It gets broken up. A whole bunch of talk and no action. So what happened is exactly what I thought happened. When
Stewart hit AD, it was accidental. Why AD didn't flare up, like go after him like he was trying to unite, you know?
Because you know what's happening, and ain't no sense in being that devil.
No, I know. I'm joking, but
personally, myself, I think I'm be honest with you. You can call AD the superstar, you can call LeBron James a superstar, but if I'm stepping on the court just as a regular dude, I think I'm more scared of Isaiah Stewart than I am LeBron and AD.
Yeah.
He looks like a scary dude, man. He really do. I don't want them dreads running at me like that full speed.
That nigga used to play ball in New York parks, so that's what I said when he went off like that. It wasn't fake for him, but yeah, I mean, it was a good game. I don't think I'm gonna talk more of the game. I don't think personally, it should have been that close of a game. They had a big lead. They should have kept
none of the Lakers games this season should be that close of a game.
I don't think the Pistons. We just got done with the tears, man. You see, I got the Pistons in the last bracket. Like they're a young team. They're not a good team. They have some sparks. I know people talk about Cade Cunningham. That's his name, Cade Cunningham.
Right, Cade Cunningham.
Yeah, they talk about him. He's a great talent. He looks like he's going to develop well in this league, but we all know he needs to get away from the Pistons.
Well, that's not happening no time soon.
I know, but he needs to get out of the Pistons because they're not going to be a winning team in the next 30 years. I'm sorry.
Listen, Detroit playing them so tough, let me just say real quick, is right, like, even though no drama took place in that game, you still were fired up and pumped up to play the Lakers again after what happened, especially knowing that after that whole situation took place, you guys blew the lead and the Lakers actually came back and beat you. So,
I mean, they shouldn't. That's my problem. I don't care that the Pistons blew the league because the Pistons are not a good team.
Right.
They should have never had the lead, and that's my problem. That's my problem with the Lakers is like the Lakers play terrible defense. I don't know what they're ranked in defense because I didn't know we was going to go here in the conversation. But they're terrible in defense. They allow the worst teams in the NBA to put up a lot of points on them. And that's not a championship team. I don't care if you have LeBron on it or not. They need to work those things out in the season so when the playoff come, they're not dealing with this.
So here's something right now, right? I'll use the Nets as an example too, right? I watch all the Nets games, okay? We play the bad teams in closer games than we do the good teams. Okay.
That's because y'all play down to your competition too. And that's another thing I don't like about the Nets either, because y'all guys.
But here's the thing: when you have a target on your back every night, because we know across the floor we're going against LeBron James. Across the floor, we're going against Kevin Durant.
Yeah,
Teams even not being that good come out with a little extra whatever.
No, and I agree there.
Because they want to beat this good team. We could have the worst record in the NBA, but we want to still say one of our wins came against LeBron. One of our wins came against
LeBron. But see, I get that, but I'm not taking that stance. I'm taking the stance that LeBron and KD supposed to know them teams are coming out like that, and they're supposed to have the extra. Okay, you want to go? Let's go. And they supposed to light it the fuck up. Like, that's what people expect these superstars like LeBron, KD, and Steph to do. Steph has proven that. Steph is not going into these places this year and be like, oh, I'm going to take this team lightly. No, they're struggling in their first half, and then they're kicking ass in the second half.
Well, one thing I mentioned, though, is I only mentioned a person's name from each one of those teams. In those teams where you're saying they should be ready, let's go, they're actually still putting up numbers. LeBron is still putting up good numbers.
And I agree.
He's still putting up good numbers.
But
in the
it should
game.
be a
it's the supporting cast.
No, I agree. I agree. And we talked about this. I don't know if it was last episode, but I think it was one of the episodes, maybe Frank, when we talked about LaMarcus Aldridge. When the Nets played Golden State, LaMarcus Aldridge struggled in that game. He's a big, vital part to their scoring load. James Harden, I watched the Suns-Nets game. James Harden struggled. He went 1 for 7, I think, in the third quarter. Like, he struggled. So I get what you're saying about the supporting cast, but I'm just saying when we're looking at superstars like LeBron and KD, they supposed to go out here and pump their team up and make sure their team's doing what they're not. And if they're not, you go into the motherfucking bench and we're gonna get somebody in here that can, because this is just because this team's at the bottom don't mean we need to come in here and lose these games. And I think that's the problem with top teams is like they go against these players, these lower teams, and they're like, oh, we can take the night off. And then it's like after All-Star, now y'all want to start fighting for seeding when you can start fighting, in my opinion, for seeding in the beginning of the season. Look, we're gonna win all the games we're supposed to win. Our tough games and our tight games are supposed to be against the good teams, not blow the good. Well, I mean, if you could blow a good team out, then do that. Then that's great. But you're supposed to be blowing these bad teams out. And the Pistons are a very young team. They're one of the youngest teams in the NBA.
Well, the problem is for the Lakers, I believe. I'm pardon, Pete. The problem for the Lakers is we don't have any type of dogs on the defensive end. We don't have any dogs on our team, period. Russell Westbrook was brought in to be that dog type player. He's more like a bull in a glass shop. He's not that guy. And his turnovers and his bad fouls are demoralizing to the players. You have to look at players' body language of turnovers, and not just. I don't just want to single out Russ. Just anybody from the Malik Monks to the THTs to LeBron himself. When those guys turn the ball over, you can just look at our body language. Guys start shrugging their shoulders. They're late getting back on transition. That stuff factors in. Also, Frank Vogel has to go. For somebody that's supposed to be a defensive guy, a defensive minded coach. I don't think he has
the pieces, though. I don't think he has the pieces to play good defense.
We have the pieces.
LeBron, see, the thing is with LeBron is not to cut you off, Frank, but the thing with LeBron is LeBron needs shooters around him. The best shooters in the game, those best role player shooters, most of them don't play good defense.
And that's what I was saying. That goes into me saying that we don't have enough dogs on our team.
Mm-hmm.
Pete, real quick. I just want to throw out a trade scenario real quick. I just want you to tell me what you think about this. Russ and maybe another complimentary piece for a Marcus Smart and a complimentary piece. Do you think Russ would fit with that Boston Celtics team?
You should ask me that. I'm the Boston fan.
I know.
Ahead,
oh yeah. I forgot. Yeah.
No, go ahead, Pete.
My fault.
You said Russ for Marcus Smart and who else?
Russ and just a complimentary piece. Not a big piece. Not a THT or Malik Monk. Maybe you can throw in Trevor Ariza. Throw Trevor Ariza. He hasn't played yet.
I mean,
do you think that trade?
Be honest with you, I think Marcus Smart, and Russell Westbrook almost could be like a 1-for-1. I think they're both really good players. You might not even have to give no extra to go along with it.
No, I'm saying, do you think that trade scenario makes sense? That's something that makes sense.
No, it does not. You guys are mad.
I think Russell, yeah.
What you mean?
You guys are mad.
Well, yeah.
You're going to put another dominant ball handler on the Celtics with two dominant ball handlers. That didn't work with Kyrie and it didn't work with Kemba. Why would we then go get Russ? Makes no sense.
Because Russ can do stuff that Kyrie can't do. Russ can get his own shot.
No,
Russ can rebound.
What are you talking about? Yeah, he can rebound, but that's great. But he's going to clog the lane up like he does with every other team. Come on, bro. We already have Jaylen Brown going to the paint. We have Tatum trying to get to the paint. We got Marcus Smart trying to get to the paint. We got Al Horford trying to get to the paint. We got everybody trying to get to the damn paint. And now Westbrook gonna come along and be like, "Look, move out the way, Marcus. Let me get to the paint."
But what are you getting out of Marcus Smart that you would be holding on
defense
to?
Defense and leadership. But that goes a long way.
But Tatum and Jaylen Brown could be those defensive guys.
They're not showing that. No, Marcus Smart is there to teach Jaylen and Tatum the ropes. He's been there long enough. He's a little bit and he's been in the league a little bit longer with them that he can show them like he said it in that
his time might be up with the Celtics.
No, I don't think they would have re-signed him if they didn't think he was a vital piece there. Unless we get in some overload of a player like LaMelo or something like that, then yeah, I can see us trading Smart to make the room for him. But to get a Russell Westbrook this late in his career with the type of player Russell is, he does not fit with Jaylen and JT. He doesn't. Well, that literally makes no sense.
Well, let me say this real quick, right? Russell late in his career, I mean, I still think Russell is still playing out of his mind. I mean, he can still.
I'm not taking that away from him, but We
He
don't
can
need
still
that
be
type
an
of
all-star
guy.
at this level.
No, and I agree. So at the detriment of Tatum and Brown is what I'm saying.
Let me touch on something real quick that you both mentioned, right? Just to take it back like a minute or two. You had, Troy, you had mentioned the thing about like LaMarcus Aldridge not contributing in that Golden State game. I had mentioned before, and we talked about that a few episodes ago, whatever it was. For whatever reason, LaMarcus Aldridge did not play the first half of that game. He did not come into the third quarter, which was confusing, and I don't know why. They never talked about it in the press conference. Was he hurt? Was he on punishment? Did he show up late to practice? I don't know why LaMarcus Aldridge didn't play in that game. I just moved past it at this point, but that was still confusing too.
Do you think that's smart though? Do you think that's smart to punish a guy in a basketball game that you need to win?
No. So like I said, I don't even think it's a punishment. I just don't know what it was that he did not come in. And as we see, he's now moved to the starting lineup. So they know how valuable he is and how much better he's been playing than Blake Griffin.
He got those blood clots figured out. Thank God.
Right.
And now he's like, look, I didn't show this in San Antonio, but I left it for this.
Now let me touch on something real quick that Frank had mentioned, right? You were talking about the Lakers not having these defensive guys and things like that, right? Well, Anthony Davis is a defensive player of the year. If he's not being a defensive dog on that team, somebody go talk to him, okay? Then number two, right? Avery Bradley is on that team because Avery Bradley's entire career, he's been known as an amazing on-ball defender. He is able to lock down your top point guards and top shooting guards in the league. So I feel like, and LeBron plays great defense. And Westbrook plays great defense. So I feel like the fact that you guys aren't being these defensive dogs, and Frank, you know better than we would because you are a Laker fan. Somebody come and talk to these boys because LeBron all throughout his career has been saying, I want to be known as a defensive stopper and I want to be defensive first team all time, at the end of every season. And I want to one day, if possible, win a defensive player of the year. And you got these chase down blocks and different things that you do or whatever. You guys have guys on this team that have been known for playing good defense. So the fact that you guys are not being called by one of your biggest fans in Frank, a defensive dog team, something's with that. And maybe it has to do with Frank Vogel. I complained earlier. Frank Vogel, you're running a play with 6 seconds on the clock in a tie game for LeBron to shoot a three-pointer. Makes no sense. So Frank Vogel and some of his decision-making, maybe that could be a shakeup that the Lakers need to make them play better. The Sacramento Kings got rid of their coach and they're playing better right now. And let's be real, that's LeBron's team. LeBron's the coach, he's the best player, he's the captain, he's the GM, he's everything for that franchise. So to be honest with you, if there is something going on with Frank Vogel right now, just snap your fingers, LeBron, the guy's out the door.
All right, let's move it
LeBron
along.
needs that he can respect, that he can defer to in those type of situations, in a 6 second situation, he can defer to his coach to come up with the right play, to come up for the right shot for those guys. And my thing with AD is AD stats are starting to become reminiscent to the early years of Kevin Love and Minnesota, where he's putting up all of these big numbers, these nice numbers, but they don't really impact the game. When you look when you look at a guy like Giannis blocks and his steals and his effort on the defensive end, it impacts the game. AD is not impact. AD has the numbers, but he don't have the impact on the game. That's my deal with AD. This is why I can't consider him a top 5 player right now in the league. It's because he doesn't play with that dog. He doesn't play with that attitude. He's starting to become a little jump shot Joe. He likes to fade. He likes to fade now. He likes to just fade out into the 3-point line to shoot that corner 3 or that wing 3-pointer. And that's not the AD that we traded for. We traded for the dominant AD, the AD that was averaging 26 and 12 in New Orleans the year before we traded for him. And that's not what we're getting out of AD.
Well, anybody that joins the team,
Avery Bradley hasn't been 100% healthy the whole year, so I can't expect him and at 33 years old to be that same defensive stopper that he was thought of when he was over there in Boston with those guys. So,
anybody that joins a team with LeBron James, your numbers are going to go down.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, the numbers go down. But if you look at it, once AD came, LeBron has somewhat deferred on the rebound end to rely on other guys, and he's more so focused on his assists. He was focused on more on averaging a double-digit assist. That's not the case no more. Now he's at that. Now he's back to the point where he has to go put up those big numbers. He has to go out and get somewhat of a triple-double or get those those 39-9 type games on a regular basis because AD is not pulling his weight. We can't keep relying on these 22-point, 23-point games where he's taking 18 shots to get 22, 24 points. That's not going to cut it. That's not the AD that we need.
Yeah, I agree. AD he got to play better. I was trying to stop you guys, but you guys were making some good points. So I'll let it ride.
Yeah, my fault.
Nah, it's all good. Do your thing. Do your thing.
I get emotional after I'm late.
Let's talk. Let's get emotional. So let's hop over to some injuries real quick. We got the Nuggets, Michael Porter Jr. out for the season with back surgery. And then we got Joe Harris from the Nets, which was just two injuries that stand out to me. Ankle surgery, out 4 to 8 weeks. What are you guys' thoughts on
me being a big Nets fan or whatever, and I know how good of a shooter Joe Harris is. He's like a top 3 3-point shooter in this league, hands down, in my opinion. But guess what? Patty Mills has been filling in that starting role pretty darn well, okay? There was one night he had 9 3-pointers, another night he had 6 3-pointers. Patty Mills has been filling in unbelievably for Joe Harris. Go ahead, Troy.
Did you guys not just get smashed by the Suns?
Okay, so
Joe Harris?
Wait. You said without Joe Harris? Yeah. So that means Patty Mills hasn't been filling in well?
No, I actually like Patty Mills. I'm messing with you. I actually have down in my notes, somebody said on the podcast I watched that nobody can have that. I think I said this to you in the second episode, in the first episode you was on. I think I said somebody on another podcast I watched said that nobody can have the impact off the bench like Derrick Rose. And I said it was Patty Mills. Patty Mills can have that same impact.
Well, Patty Mills has been inserted into the starting lineup. It's very nice when you lose a guy in your starting lineup. The guy that you want to replace him with is someone that has similar game to that person, so it doesn't feel like you're missing that person out of the lineup. And Patty Mills is shooting the ball lights out from 3 right now. Percentage-wise, he's our best 3-point shooter right now as it stands on the Nets. So he's been filling in great for Joe Harris. He's a little undersized. He's not as big as Joe is or whatever, but he can bring the ball up and he's shooting just as well. So honestly, I don't even feel like us not having Joe Harris has even affected us that much. We've been able to kind of still roll with the punches because of how well Patty Mills has filled in shooting the ball from 3.
Yeah, Patty definitely been holding you guys down. He's a vet. I mean, coming from Pop and those guys, that's what you expect coming from that type of pedigree of coaching. But I think that Michael Porter being out for the rest of the year is really going to hurt the Nuggets, and it's really going to hurt them in the playoffs. They're going to have to try to find a replacement for that guy.
Yeah, I was gonna ask the question, which one was a bigger
score?
loss?
He can defend. He can match up with bigs. He can match up with the guards on pick and rolls, and it just sucks because he was injury prone coming out of college, and he was a special talent over there in Colorado. And it just sucks for him. I feel bad for the guy.
Yeah, I was gonna ask who was the bigger loss because I think Porter is gonna be the bigger loss.
Porter's gonna be the bigger loss. Yeah,
Porter's gonna be the bigger loss, and that shit hurts.
We're gonna move on.
People forget how big Porter is too, bro. Porter is a big dude.
He's supposed to be like
the ball. He can score. Man.
I heard some people like compare him like a KD.
He got that talent and potential, man.
He's just injury prone. He came out of college with a back injury, and that's
with a back injury. So. He dropped in the draft because of that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So just want to point out some streaks. Bucks are on the 7-game, Golden State on the 7-game, and Suns on the 6-game winning streak. So moving on to football, before we get to our wins and losses for the week, let's talk about a couple of hot topics. Let's start with the game from last night. So I'm gonna start. I want GK to start this off because GK is the man that has brung up in previous episodes, as you know, Uncle Frank, that people keep calling out the Browns, and we had another father call out the Browns. So Pete, explain that situation to us.
Yeah, Kareem Hunt's dad came out, man, and said a couple things. I thought what was really funny about it was I don't have to quote exactly the word for word what he said, but I thought it was funny. He was like, and I don't want nobody thinking that I'm picking on Baker or I'm calling Baker out. Well, that's kind of what you're doing. Like you
see, if I guess GK was here, he would say it was Baker's arm shot at GK. How?
Yeah. So I mean, Kareem Hunt's dad can sugarcoat it any way he wants to sugarcoat it to make it seem like he's not pulling what Odell Beckham's dad did or something like that. there's really no difference. Only difference is you didn't put film out there of people watching Kareem Hunt not getting the ball. Like Odell Beckham put film. Odell Beckham's dad put out film showing how his son wasn't getting the ball. Other than that, the words still all mean the same thing. Baker ain't getting the job done. Okay, that's all it means. Okay. So yeah. And enough of this Baker stuff too, with the injury stuff too, man. If the man is injured, just bench him. You got Case Keenum over there, who has been a starter. He played good with the Minnesota Vikings. He got a big contract with the Denver Broncos. It didn't work out, but he's still probably, you could say, a very top backup to have on your bench. A lot of teams' second string coming off their bench isn't probably as good as Case Keenum. So, I mean, play Case Keenum. Get some wins. You guys are trying to make the playoffs right now, okay? If Baker's your best option and he's the best player on your team, let Case Keenum get you a couple wins because he's healthy, and then let Baker come back and play. I heard Kevin Stefanski said the other day, and like he looked at the reporter when the reporter asked him, like, he said, why would you say that? Of course I'm playing Baker. Well, Baker ain't been playing good and he's complaining about this injury. So rethink it.
So Frank,
Talk to me.
Talk about Lamar's 4 interceptions and still winning a game last night, and how Delonte Freeman had more rushing yards than both Kareem Hunt and Chubb put together.
Well, Lamar, that was an uncharacteristic game as far as the 4 picks. Like, I definitely didn't expect him to throw 4 picks, even though that Browns team has a stunning defense, and their defensive line really can get after you. Myles Garrett with another sack last night, or the night before. But Lamar found ways to stay in the game, having 17 rushes for 68 yards, still manages to use his legs and be effective in the game, getting Mark Andrews the ball. He had 4 receptions for 65 yards and a touchdown. So they managed to stay, their defense kept him in it. And even with the 4 picks, he managed to use his legs to keep plays alive. And that's all you can ask for in a game like that when you throw 4 picks. Just try to maintain and keep them in position. And Baker didn't do anything on the offensive end. Jarvis Landry had a big game with the 6 receptions with the 111 yards. But outside of him, nobody else on the Browns had a good game offensively. Everybody was asleep. The offensive line is really banged up. They lost Jack Conklin, all-pro right tackle. That's gonna bring some struggle to the run game. Kareem Hunt, I don't know what type of game he was having. He had 7 touches for 20 yards. I mean,
his first game back off the injury.
It is, but I mean, I don't.
What about Chubb?
That
don't explain Chubb. Chubb hurt too. Everybody hurt. Everybody injured.
Well, listen. As far as Lamar Jackson concerned, everybody sees the 4 interceptions, but how many sacks did Lamar Jackson avoid? Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett was all over that boy, and they could not bring him down. I mean, he just scrambled, ducked under, got away. I mean, woo, they could have had a lot of sacks.
His ability to keep plays alive is amazing. It's right up there with the Aaron Rodgers, with the ability to escape the pocket when it's crashing down on him and still be able to look up the field and make a play with your arm or with your legs.
Ben Roethlisberger used to be really good at that. Big Ben too. Really good at that. Wasn't the fastest guy in the world, but in the pocket, you could not bring that man down.
Yes, sir.
Bring the pocket.
All right, we're gonna move on to some NFL wins and losses for the week. We're gonna close it out with wins and losses. All right, so we kind of touched on Frank. We kind of touched on the Chicago, Vegas, and Buffalo game in our last episode. So if we just want to briefly just tell us who you picked and those
Chicago, Vegas, and who?
Chicago versus Detroit, Vegas versus Dallas, and Buffalo. The Thanksgiving games. Who did you have in those games?
I watched that Cowboys game, every second of the Cowboys game with the utmost joy. I love it when Cowboys fans have a miserable Thanksgiving. That really set my day off. I didn't watch too much of the first game, and I didn't really watch too much of the Lions game, so I can't really give you the Bills game, so I can't really give you too much.
What did you have in them? Did you have Chicago winning?
Bills winning. I had the Bills winning, and I definitely thought that the Lions will upset the Bears.
And what about Vegas versus Dallas?
Credit to the Bears for pulling out that W to them. So
and then what about Vegas versus Dallas? Who you had in that game?
I thought the Cowboys was going to bounce back and have a big game against them, but
I did too. So.
Las Vegas showed that they still got some fight left in them, man. For me, even with all of the stuff, all of the distractions that they had going on within through the organization, they still managed to find ways to keep. And the officiating was horrible. It was a horrible officiating. I mean, it's like been horrible officiating throughout the league all year. Like there's more and more you find these referees trying to put their imprint on the game. I know the Cowboys had that one cornerback who was just getting torched all night for
the big pass interference.
The 4 passes interference. He had 4.
Yeah.
That really cost them, especially on that last drive that put them in position to cap the game off. But
me and Troy talked about that in the last episode. We still thought it was pass interference.
Yeah.
It's definitely pass interference because he didn't look around, he didn't see where the ball was, and he touched the wide receiver before the ball got there. But let's move on to Sunday games. Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. I took Cincinnati.
Yeah, I said I picked Pittsburgh. I said I thought Pittsburgh was gonna get tough with them, and I couldn't have been even more wrong. That was a blowout, man. They got spanked, man.
On the back.
That was just like that might have been the game to say, okay, Ben, finish out this season and hang it up.
Go on.
That is, I mean, that was, if there was any game that was like the defining moment to say, this is it, Ben, great career, but this is it, brother. It ain't worth it getting beat up and tackled and sacked and hurt and all. Give it up. The other guys that were part of your draft class have already hung it up. Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning, it's your turn now. Everybody can't be Tom Brady and pay till they're 45 years old, bro. And there's nothing wrong with that. Go spend your money, enjoy retirement. It's time to hang it up.
I know Mac Jones get a lot of hype, but everybody needs to start talking about this guy, Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is holding everything down. I told you guys that those are my dark horses for that division. As long as Joe Burrow keep playing with confidence, man, if he can limit his turnovers, and that'll increase his impact on the game, man. I just really love the Cincinnati Bengals team. I think that they're going to win this AFC North when it's all said and done.
Yeah, so then we got Tampa versus Indianapolis, and I took Tampa.
I took Tampa too, but I said that watch out for Indianapolis because I knew they were playing good these last few weeks. Carson Wentz, the defense, the offensive line, Jonathan Taylor. And it's crazy because it wasn't even Brady that won in that game. It was Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette had 4 touchdowns, man.
Thank you, Leonard, on my fantasy team.
If you looked at the game before and you said, let's talk about a running back, it wasn't Leonard Fournette's name you were going to say. It would have been Jonathan Taylor. So Leonard Fournette came out of nowhere. He bailed Tampa Bay out, and they got a huge win against a team that was on the up and coming.
Carson Wentz, man, he's the reason why they lost this game, point blank, period. With the 2 interceptions and the 1 fumble loss. I mean, his turnovers, man, really put them in a hole, man. It really put them behind. They definitely had a chance to come back and beat those and beat the Bucs, but they had they blew a 10-point lead at the half. It just and Tom Brady was just perfect on the last drive, going 5-5, setting them up for that game winning run. So, and like Frank, you said, Leonard Fournette.
No, I was gonna say you made a good point with something. I was gonna say the lead. They actually were up 14 at one point. And what's crazy is Frank Reich, the head coach of Indianapolis, for whatever reason, with a 14-point lead, and the fact that you got Jonathan Taylor, who just came off a 5 rushing touchdown game, they threw the ball 26 times in a row with a 14-point lead. Why are you throwing the ball 26 times in a row with a 14-point lead? You're not the team trying to come back where you need to throw the ball. You should be now slowing the game down and using your rushing attack. So the play calling was, nothing
good can come out of Carson Wentz throwing the ball 44 times.
Yeah,
nothing good can come out of it. Not when you got the best running back outside of Derrick Henry in the NFL right now with Jonathan Taylor. He had 16 rushes for 83 yards and a touchdown. you take some of those passes away from the passing attempts away from Carson Wentz and give them to Jonathan Taylor. Let him get 100 yards. Let him try to win you the game. You win the game like how the Tampa Bay won the game on the ground. And Leonard Fournette had 17 rushes, 100 yards, with 7 receptions, 2 out of the backfield for 31 yards. That was big on them too. Gronk, he didn't have a touchdown, but he still managed to get them big yards and big plays. So I put this all on at the feet of Carson Wentz and the coaching. That's what it came down to.
Gronk also went 7 receptions for 123 yards.
Yes, sir.
Carolina, Miami. I took Carolina thinking not of Cam Newton being benched for going 7 for whatever it was and throwing 2 interceptions.
5 for 21.
Woo. Guys, we keep forgetting, man. Cam Newton has been out for quite a while. His first couple games, he was playing with a lot of energy. The first game, as we know, he didn't play the whole game. The second game was his return to Carolina. He was extra amped and pumped for that, and they actually still lost that game to Washington. So now I feel now you see the rust setting in, and you also see the impact of not having a healthy Christian McCaffrey on your team to bail you out. Happy for Cam that he got his job back. Happy to see him back with Carolina, his original franchise. But I don't see Carolina trending in the right direction the rest of the season, to be honest with you.
Carolina going to be in real trouble, man, at the quarterback position, because if Cam is not the option, Cam is not the answer. PJ Walker definitely isn't the answer. He was 5 for 10 and he threw a pick with 4 sacks and his first and coming in for Cam. So that wasn't too much better. Cam has to do better. He's never been a great passer, never been a great decision maker, but and they absolutely need a healthy C-Mac to go forward. And he's supposed to be out for the rest of the season. So I don't see how Carolina can come up out of this hole. Tua has definitely been playing better, definitely been playing with more confidence, throwing the ball with more confidence. He did have the 1 fumble, but he did go 27 for 31, 230 yards and a touchdown. Jalen Waddle, 9 receptions, 137 yards and a touchdown. He played great. They went scored. The Carolina, they just couldn't put up anything in the second half. They were scoreless in the second half. It was 21. They was 21-10 at the half, and then they just couldn't get any momentum going. Just those interceptions that came through was just.
Listen, when you got to start worrying. You got to start worrying at some point about the fact that now it's 2 seasons in a row Christian McCaffrey has ended the season on the IR. When your team is completely built and dependent on him the way they have been in the past, he's their entire offense. And if he's missing the last 5, 6, 7 games of a season, 2 years in a row, you got to start questioning his durability. And as far as Waddle's concerned with Miami, Waddle, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson, these are going to be the 3 wide receivers going forward when some of your older wide receivers start to fade a little bit. These are your guys that are like, going to be big time, man. And it's nice to see that they're big time wide receivers that are on teams that aren't necessarily big time teams. Cincinnati's up and coming. Miami's up and coming. They're not on like just superstar teams. So that's good to see, man. They got some good. That shows you that these teams did the right thing when they had their draft picks.
All right.
And Tua isn't holding the ball. I'm not to cut you off. I'm sorry.
No,
but Tua also, he's getting the ball out quicker and he's letting his receivers do the job. He's letting his receivers make the plays. That's what I like about Tua. Earlier on in the season, it's like that's, I guess all of the sophomore quarterbacks, they get into this, and even the rookie quarterbacks, they get into a habit of holding the ball longer than they're supposed to. But now he's been getting the ball out quicker and letting his receivers make the plays down the field. And I really have a lot of confidence in the Dolphins going forward.
In Tua's defense, remember too, Tua missed the first part of last season. His rookie season, Tua did not play the first, I don't even know how many games. So Tua is still probably now finally played a full season's worth of football if you count the games he played last season. I think Tua's going to be fine. I really do.
All right, moving on to the New England and Tennessee game. I took New England.
Yeah, we haven't seen Frank's bathrobe. We ain't seen Frank's bathrobe in a while, man.
Yeah. He burned it. He put it in the LeBron burn fire. And burned it.
It's definitely in the closet right now until we get this next win.
He put it in the plastic wrap and all of it. He put it up, tied the bottom of it. He put it away for good. He put it away for good.
But if you let me say, in the defense of the Titans, what I would say is early on, that game was a lot closer than it should have been with the guys that we had and the guys that we had out. We left 4 points on the board with our field goal kicker, with missing the extra point and then missing a chip yard from the 30-something. That really put us behind. We went into the half down 16-3. We were running the ball effectively. Ike Hilliard coming in, having a good game, having a 100-yard game. He had a big fumble. He had a big fumble turnover. Tannehill's getting out of control with these interceptions, especially in the red zone. This is where you see the effect of not having Derrick Henry, where you could just pound that ball in. Now he's actually having to make decisions and throw into tighter windows in the goal line, and it's really been backfiring on us. Our defense, we have a bend but don't break type of defense. We was out our 2 starting inside linebackers, but we still held them down. We still managed to hold them to field goals in the earlier half of the game. Mac Jones is just he's phenomenal, man. His pocket presence is amazing. And even with that being said, we still managed to keep them to field goals. It's just our turnovers put us in bad positions. And that's what it really came down to. We can't expect to go into Foxborough, especially, and have 4 turnovers as a team and a couple missed field goals and expect to beat a team that's steaming hot going into the playoffs. So credit the Patriots, man. They did what they were supposed to do.
The only way to overcome losing someone of the magnitude and the caliber of, say, a Christian McCaffrey or a Derrick Henry is your offense has to be a balanced offense. And those are 2 teams that rely heavy on those 2 players. I'm not saying that Tennessee doesn't have A.J. Brown, who's a great wide receiver. I'm not saying that Tannehill isn't a solid quarterback in the league, but you still rely a lot on Derrick Henry. I would even say 75% of your offense is all about Derrick Henry. 75% of Carolina's offense is all about Christian McCaffrey. And when you lose 2 guys like that, that's when it's like, do my offense have enough balance to sustain losing guys like that? And it's going to be tough. I won't really talk about Carolina as much because they're not a playoff team regardless. Tennessee could still make the playoffs, but you can't overcome losing somebody like that when you don't have balance throughout your entire offense. And that's just
all right, moving on to my favorite game of the night, Giants versus Philly. I picked the Giants to win, and somehow we got it done.
Every time against the Giants, who are my favorite team, they always win. I think part of me picking against them isn't just because I think Philly's a better football team, but it just makes sense for the Giants to lose games if they want to get a good draft pick. But you know what? The Giants came out there, they won the doggone game. A very low scoring game. Offenses didn't do much, but the defense did their thing. And I respect that, Giants. I respect that you're still playing hard and you're not saying, you know what, we're moving ahead to next season for draft picks. You're still focused 1 game at a time this season. And with Dallas losing, I mean, anything can happen. Anything can happen.
We in the playoff hunt. We are in the playoff hunt. We're in that bracket.
It would have helped a lot. It would have helped a lot if Washington had a loss last night. That would have helped.
Yeah, Washington is on the road down the stretch.
The tail of the tape came down to Jalen Hurts and the 2 Jalens, Jalen Hurts and Jalen Reagor. I mean, those 2 guys really cost Philly the game. I mean, they still had a chance to win it in the final moments with Jalen Reagor dropping just completely. I don't understand how the ball went right through his hands. He wasn't hit on the play. It went right through his hands on the goal line that could have won him the game. But Jalen Hurts struggled throwing the deep ball. He had 2 of his picks came when he threw the deep pass. I mean, 2 of his 3 picks came from when he threw the deep pass. He went 14 for 31 with 129 yards. However, he did use his legs and he did make plays with his legs, going 8 rushes for 77 yards. They got to incorporate him using his legs a lot more into their offense.
Absolutely.
Daniel Jones, his pocket presence was great yesterday. Or the day before, I actually got a chance to really sit back and watch that game. His presence in the pocket was really nice, man. He went 19 for 30 with 202 yards with 1 touchdown, and he had 9 rushes, 30 yards. But what he didn't do was turn the ball over. I got to give him credit for that. It's good to see Saquon Barkley out there. He had 1 big run out there. Hopefully he can stay healthy, man, give them some momentum going into the playoffs. Maybe, I mean, who knows? If Dallas lose a game or two going forward, the Giants win a couple, guys might be in a race for the NFC East. It's not, everything is not lost yet.
The key is the division games. That's the key. Mm-hmm. It's not even about the games you play outside of the division.
Cowboys got 2 left against Washington too.
Yep, it's how well you play the teams left in your division, man. You can't lose the division games. You can't. Whoever pretty much has the best division record from here to the end of the season is going to be the winner of the NFC East. Plain and simple. Because I don't see anybody from that division making a wild card. I don't. Even with the extra wild card, I feel like it's a long shot to be rooting or hoping for the wild card. Yeah. You got to win a division because nobody in this division has enough wins to be able to say I can get a wild card spot. So
yeah. So now we're moving on to the Atlanta versus Jacksonville game. And for some reason, I picked Atlanta.
I picked Atlanta too. I thought that was a good pick. I don't trust Jacksonville's offense at all. I don't. Atlanta's too streaky. They're not consistent, but I don't trust Jacksonville's offense. I don't.
I mean, I went Jacksonville, but I went Jacksonville. I don't think that I just think that they got to be a little bit more creative with their play calling for Trevor Lawrence, man. Just get that guy out of the pocket. Let him start to make plays out of the pocket. He got a little momentum going 23 for 42 with 228, touchdown and a pick. And he only got sacked one time, so and they had somewhat of a good rushing game. Cordell Patterson was the star of that game, going 16 rushes for 108 yards and 2 touchdowns. That was the reason, man. I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that. Matt Ryan didn't play great. He played 19 for 29, 190 with a touchdown and a pick. So I mean, it really came down to the run game at the end. Cordell Patterson was the key.
Yeah. He missed the week before that with the injury, and you would have never thought he missed the week before because he slid right into where he left off.
Went off yesterday. I saw that in fantasy.
Whew. Yeah,
the Jags played undisciplined.
Comeback player of the year, Cordell Patterson, man. Cordell Patterson, comeback player of the year. Nobody, come on. The offense that this guy, he's their whole team. He's their whole team offensively. Whether he's lined up as a wide receiver, he's in the backfield, he's getting end rounds, whatever. Cordell Patterson is their whole team. I don't know why it took the guy 7-8 seasons to be in the NFL before a team realized how to use the man. He's good.
And the Falcons have to find a better way to get Kyle Pitts involved in the game, man. He can't go these games where he only has 2 receptions. I mean, I know he has 6 targets, but some of those targets were just way off when Matt Ryan was throwing to him. That's by far your best offensive weapon right now. You got to find ways to get that guy involved.
6 targets isn't even enough when you don't have Calvin Ridley out there.
Exactly.
There should be more targets to go to Kyle Pitts.
I felt bad for him. You could see his body language during the game whenever the ball got overthrown or he just got overlooked. It's starting to take a toll on him, man. They're 5 and 6. They're still somewhat in it. They just got to get him involved.
Yeah, so moving on to the Houston Jets game. For some reason, I took Houston and the Jets proved me wrong.
Me taking Houston was more just I trust Tyrod Taylor more than I trust Zach Wilson coming off of missing the last 3 weeks. But Houston is who they are, and the Jets won the game,
Credit the Jets defensive line, man, stopping the run, man. That's what it came down to. And stopping them guys from making those extra plays. The Texans couldn't get any type of traction on the run game, man. 10 rushes, 39 yards for their best runner. That's what it came down to.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a really exciting game. So moving on to what I thought would have been a good game for the Chargers to win. Chargers versus Denver. I had Chargers winning, but Denver came in and took the win.
I told you, man, I love to watch the Chargers. Justin Herbert's one of my favorite players to watch, especially in the AFC. But you know what? They're not consistent enough, man. You can't keep winning one, losing one, winning one, losing one. You can't keep doing that, especially when the game that you're losing is against a team that you're better than and you should beat. I do think Denver has a very underrated defense over there. I think Teddy Bridgewater is a better quarterback than what he gets credit for. But still, man, LA, you got to win that game, man. You got to win that game. You guys got a couple bad losses this season where easily it could have been flipped and you guys should have won. I thought you should have beat Dallas earlier in the season. You lost that game. There's another game that's not ringing a bell that I thought you guys should have won. And then you got completely dominated by Denver. That can't happen if you call yourself a playoff team.
Denver they got a history of playing tough games, even when they're being in games that they're not supposed to be in. And you saw it 2 weeks ago against the Cowboys, man, how they were able to hold them down. So yeah, it just goes to the Chargers and consistency, man. I don't get. I had them as my favorites to win the AFC West. Might be jumping off that bandwagon, especially with how good the Chiefs been looking lately. But yeah, I don't get it. The inconsistencies, I don't get it. I mean, they have the talent, they have the pieces there to be one of the top upper echelons in the AFC, and then week after week, man, you just don't know what you're going to get out of this team. Credit the Broncos, though, man. They always playing tough, man. You can never
always play tough games. You got to give them that.
If the Broncos can manage to get the Deshaun Watson once his situation gets taken care of, maybe they might be able to do some things, man. If everything works out for the best for Deshaun Watson, I know he said Denver was definitely one of his destinations. Him being over there with John Elway, if they can pull something off like that, man.
Yeah, I heard about his case. Not to speak too much on it, but I heard this case is falling apart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he gonna be playing again real soon, man. Absolutely.
The case is falling apart. So.
And if he go to Denver, man, I think he can get some pieces to go over there. John Elway is great at getting free agents, upper echelon free agents to go over there. I think that can be something to watch out for in the offseason.
All right. So now we got Rams versus Green Bay. I took Green Bay. I just knew somehow Green Bay would get it out.
Yeah, I took Green Bay also. You know what? The Rams, I'm going to put them in the same category with Dallas. You're not for real. You're going to make the playoffs. You probably are going to win your division, but that's it. It ends there, because let's be real. The Rams and Dallas are not better than Tampa Bay, and they're not better than the Packers. And you're not better than the Arizona Cardinals, who are 3 NFC teams that I would put ahead of both of them. So as far as Dallas and the Rams are concerned, no, you're going to win a couple more games. You're probably going to win your division. And I even am starting to be hesitant about saying that division thing when it comes to Dallas, the way you got Washington now breathing down your back. So, the Rams, no, you weren't beating the back. The Rams have been such a letdown. And the Rams have said so many games where, like, before the game, you're like, I can't wait to see this game of the week. And then they let you down. Okay, you lost to Arizona. The week before that, Odell's first game, you don't look good. Then you go and lose to the Packers this week. Yeah, the Rams, you made all these changes. You're bringing Odell, you're bringing Von Miller, and you're just losing games. So what's going on over there?
I think the Rams got to get some type of run game. They got to get some type of run attack to balance out that pass attack.
Well, Darrell Henderson just got injured this week, so you better find a running back.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Matt Stafford.
Todd Gurley.
The same thing with Carson Wentz. When you ask those guys to throw the ball too many times, 38 times, 40 plus times, I just think you asking guys, especially gunslinger guys like those guys, you're putting them more at risk for that interception, which wind up happening, and I think that wind up costing them the game in some form or fashion later, because it came down to turnovers at the end of the day. And you got both of your receivers on the same page finally. Odell had somewhat of a good game, 5 receptions for 81 yards and a touchdown on 10 targets. Cooper Kupp is still one of the top, I say definitely a top 5 wide receiver, top 5 wide receiver in the league right now. He has 7 receptions, 90-something yards, 96 yards. But it just came down to they got to find some type of run game to balance out that pass attack. I think in the playoffs, when it comes down to the playoffs, I trust the LA Rams more than I trust the Green Bay Packers. I think the Packers show you time and time again, once they get into the playoffs, they're not the same team as they are in the regular season. And I absolutely trust that the LA Rams defense. I think that they'll find ways to make plays and to bring their team out with the W come playoff time. I just trust Aaron Donald and Von Miller more than I trust Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs.
You know what? There's one thing that I don't trust about Green Bay, and this is a topic that gets no love ever. Nobody talks about this or whatever. But Mason Crosby, the field goal kicker, has been atrocious this year. He's got 10 missed field goals this season. That is not something you need to be confident about, knowing that when you go in the playoffs. 10 missed field goals? Come on, your field goal kicker is damn important in the playoffs and during a playoff run. And Mason Crosby has been around for too long. He's been with the Packers organization for too long, where 10 missed field goals don't look good. I mean, I get it. to go find another kicker at this point in time and then to trust him over Mason Crosby, who has a long resume and who's a veteran. But I mean, I've even watched kicks, like looked at these kicks, and sometimes it's not even on Mason Crosby. The holder's got the laces pointing in the wrong direction. He's completely shanking the football. Come on, man. 10 missed field goals, 12 weeks into the season. Come on, man. You shouldn't be missing more than 3 or 4 field goals for an entire season. And he's missing 30 yarders, 40 yarders. Come on, man. If Aaron Rodgers, knowing how close he came to making the Super Bowl last season, is denied a Super Bowl appearance over a missed field goal, remember this episode that I said that. Remember this. That's a pat yourself on the back moment.
Yeah.
Trust boy wonder, man, Sean McVay. I think he'll find a way. He's a great coach, man. He got great ways to get his guys going, man. I think he'll get them back on.
All right, moving on to the Minnesota and San Fran game. I had Minnesota winning. San Fran goes in there and wins the game.
Yeah, I also said right after we dissected Minnesota the week before, beating the Packers, I said, if you want us to take you for real, don't go in and lose to the 49ers the following week. When you beat a team like Green Bay, who's also in your division, you got to let everybody know that was no fluke, and you got to go spank these 49ers. And that didn't happen. They actually spanked you. And Elijah Mitchell, the running back for the 49ers, you need to be talking about, because here's the crazy thing. I actually got Elijah Mitchell on my fantasy football team, and I didn't start him this week because he missed the week before with a broken finger. So I'm thinking, a broken finger, you got to hold a football in your hands. Yep. I can't really trust you this week. No, broken finger, nothing. The man ran all over the place, okay? Elijah Mitchell is killing it for the 49ers, and I won't be leaving him off my team this week when I play fantasy.
Yeah, Elijah Mitchell, he was definitely the story of the game, man. Going 17 rushes, 133 yards and a touchdown. Deebo Samuel, too, y'all. Deebo just finds a way. They just find ways to get Deebo the ball, man. Deebo's a problem, man.
Deebo's out this week
for 66 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like he's a problem, man. I really like Deebo Samuel. I like the ways that Kyle Shanahan finds ways to get him incorporated into the offense. Jimmy G played average, but he did have an interception, but he did manage just to keep everybody afloat. Outside of that one interception, he played okay.
San Francisco is quietly winning games. They're on a 3-game winning streak. Only thing about it is Deebo is out this week. They said he might actually be out for a couple of weeks. I didn't know that. Yeah, I think it's a groin injury. So losing Deebo Samuel is big.
Yeah, because he's been a vital piece for these last couple of weeks for them winning. So yeah,
so fire up Elijah Mitchell. Fire him up. Fire him up. You got to pick up the slack.
Kirk Cousins, George Kittle got to be better, man.
Let's not talk about George Kittle. Has to step it up too. Get him the ball as well. He's healthy now. He's not injured right now. Get George Kittle the ball too.
Yeah, so we kind of talked about the Baltimore and Cleveland game a little earlier when we talked about Lamar's 4 interceptions. So we're gonna move on to Seattle versus Washington. I had Baltimore winning. I'm guessing both of you had Baltimore winning. I had Washington winning the Seattle game. I don't believe in Seattle no more.
That Seattle game was actually a good game, man.
Towards the end, Russell tried to make it comeback.
He had a chance to bring it out. He just couldn't get the 2-point conversion, man. So.
But you know what, though?
Credit to the Washington for still managing to find ways to hold on, man, without having the best defensive player. Like, I just shout out to those guys, man.
Well, listen, what even kept Seattle having a chance in that game was, first of all, Russell played horrible the whole game. His last drive was his best drive. He took him all the way down the field. But honestly, this game would have been over anyway, and it wouldn't even have come down to a 2-point conversion if Washington's field goal kicker didn't get hurt. Washington was forced to go for it on 4th down, actually a few different times during the game, because they didn't have their field goal kicker healthy. So if Washington just kicks a field goal at the end of the game instead of going for it on 4th down where they got stopped, Seattle wouldn't even have been in that situation, because it would have been a 2-score game, and it wouldn't have been enough time for Seattle to even score, to get 2 scores out of it. So, they actually caught a break even still being in the game. So, Tyler Heineke's been playing good, man. He really has.
Not costing them, man. That's all you could ask for. Don't cost them. They had a big game running too. They had a 100-yard rush.
Yeah, Gibson. Both running backs played good. McKissick and Gibson played good yesterday.
That's what I'm saying. So give those guys credit, man, for still holding on, still finding ways to win. I told you they take on the they take on the personality of their coach and Ron Rivera, man. He's a tough coach, man, tough-minded guy, man. So you can always expect this team to come out and fight.
Yeah, I mean, Washington is always they did the same thing, if I'm not mistaken, last season, started playing really good at the end of the season to get themselves in the playoffs. So, I mean, I expect the same thing from Dallas. Just needs to keep on the A game and keep pushing, or they're going to find themselves out or in the wild card game fighting, excuse me, or in the wild card game fighting for a spot. So, but yeah, I mean, that's it for the picks. We here at the end, guys, man. We here at the end, so we're gonna close it out with final thoughts. But I'm gonna start final thoughts off this time. I don't never do this. My final thoughts is Bucks sign Cousins, bro. If Cousins can just come in, right, and just be like a little threat from deep from them, give him some more scoring, be able to get to the paint, you know, add some spacing. I think it's a good pickup. I think it's a really good pickup. So this could be one of my pat yourself on the back moments later on in the episodes. But yeah, I think Cousins might be a good fit for the Bucks coming off the bench, man. But we're gonna kick it to Frank. Closing thoughts, Frank.
Closing thoughts. Michigan had a great week. Just want to throw that out there. Wolves. Michigan up for all my Michigan Wolverines.
Big fan of Michigan.
Yeah, they really spearheaded my
Yeah, he really don't win big games. I can agree that Harbaugh really.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'll tell you the truth. When Harbaugh went to Michigan, I became a fan of Michigan.
Yeah, the whole Michigan needed that, man. That was a great week for me. And
do you think he still lose his job, or what are you thinking there?
No way, no. I mean, I think that I believe that he's gonna leave. I think he'll take another chance at the NFL eventually. But with him being Ohio State, I think that's enough for us to keep him if he wants to stay. Definitely.
All right, Pete, closing thoughts?
Yeah, my final thought was, it's so funny that Frank said something about college football, because I was actually going to say that too. But I was going to talk about number 1 versus number 4 this week in Alabama versus Georgia.
Yeah, that was another good one.
In Nick Saban's coaching career at Alabama, he has only been the underdog one time in a game. And guess what? He won it. And when you have a team like Alabama, and I get it, they're ranked number 4. Georgia is unreal. They're ranked number 1. But sometimes it's like, and I said this a couple seasons ago, it might have been last season, it was Baltimore versus the Kansas City Chiefs, and Kansas City was the underdog. When you have teams that are so dominant all the time, and there's that rare occasion that they're actually the underdog, go put your money on them. Go put your money on them, because that's when you're going to get paid the most money, and you're going to see the most return and most profit is when you bet on the underdog. And you don't get to see Nick Saban, and you don't get to see Alabama as underdogs too often. And I think they're 6.5-point underdogs. $100 bet gets you a decent return on your money. So you know what? Even if you lose the money, I get it. You don't want to lose your bet or whatever. Maybe you don't put $100 down. But if you want to actually double and get more back of a return, Alabama being the underdog is not something that we ever see at all. And it still is Nick Saban, and it still is Alabama. I got a few bucks for Alabama to get the upset over Georgia.
Ooh.
All right. Ooh. All right. You heard it. You heard it here from Pete and Uncle Frank. Uncle Frank, we want to thank you again for stopping by, bro.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure having you. We'll be in contact. We're going to have you back. Maybe in I think a week. I think we got some people on the schedule that's going to stop by, so we definitely gonna give you a call. Yeah, you'll be back, bro. It'll be a regular part of the show if you don't mind.
Guys, bro.
Bring the bathrobe out, get it out. Man.
Yeah, we're gonna have.
We got a bye week, but don't worry. After next week, though.
Yeah, you got to see the Titans got a bye week, and you got a bye week too.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Give you the week off too, bro. But we're gonna have you back in here.
I want the whole outfit. I want the cigar, the hat.
Yes. You gotta have a blue cigar, the light blue cigar. Right. But nah, man, we really appreciate you, man, stopping by, giving us your time, man. It is appreciated, bro. Giving us some good conversation. I think today's conversation is going to rank up there in one of our best starting ones, because you guys were able to flow together like I envisioned did. So anytime you come on, man, just keep that work up, bro. But we definitely going to have you back, and we appreciate you.
Great, man.
Thank you, for everybody listening at home, watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, we want to thank you guys for listening, man. Definitely leave us some comments, leave us some topics you wanted to hear us talk about. Leave us your top 10 if you want us to discuss it. You know, if you guys will want to be on the show, like me and Pete said before, man, just send us a message. Hit us up in the comments of Instagram, of YouTube, and we'll get back to you, man. And and that's the end of the show, man. So we want to thank you guys again. We appreciate you guys. Peace.
Peace.